That morning the text landed like a punch to the gut. "We need to talk." Just 3 words from my wife, but they were heavy enough to stop my heart. It wasn't the first time she'd sent a message like that, but this time, I knew. There was no shaking it off. Every self-soothing thought, "She's just stressed. It's probably nothing. Don't overthink it," collapsed into useless dust. I flashed back to the last few months. Every small detail I'd tried to rationalize away. Her coming home later than usual. The phone constantly on silent. Those clipped, evasive answers that felt rehearsed. I'd fought hard to ignore it, telling myself I was being paranoid, but deep down, a core part of me always knew something was fundamentally wrong. The small, persistent clues, the seemingly innocent acts were suddenly arranging themselves into an undeniable pattern. The fleeting, private smile when she read a text message, the strange late-night calls that stopped the second I walked into the room, the subtle, unsettling shifts in her daily routine. All of it now painted a terrifying picture I had avoided looking at. My wife was hiding something monumental. Sitting there, staring at the screen. I understood that the conversation ahead would be the definitive line in the sand. The truth was about to be dragged into the light, and there would be no turning back. I ran through past moments, every word, every gesture, and now, through this new, chilling lens, every single one seemed suspicious. Every awkward silence, every defensive tone, every minor action I'd overlooked, they were all stacking up as evidence against her. My chest was hollow, but my mind was racing, vibrating with panicked energy. "Maybe I'm jumping to conclusions," I pleaded with myself, but my gut instinct, that primal, honest voice, was impossible to ignore. Something massive was happening, and that text message was the detonator. This was the precise moment where every doubt, every subtle change, every ignored red flag finally converged. Today, everything was going to be different. I was about to confront the reality I had long been dreading. The person I trusted most, my wife, may have betrayed me. Everything I had built, everything I believed in, could crumble after a single, agonizing conversation. And I knew, once this moment passed, the path was set. The raw, inescapable truth would force me to stare directly at everything I had desperately tried to deny. My life, my faith in our relationship, and every connection around me would be irrevocably altered, and all I could do now was brace myself for the impact. Our relationship, mine and hers, was never perfect, but I always felt we had an unshakable foundation of trust. We had spent years together, building a shared life filled with all the mundane, comfortable rhythms, work routines, shared meals, and the simple, ordinary habits that become the bedrock of a marriage. But over the past few months, the whole structure began to shift, slowly. Unnervingly, she started coming home later, sometimes without notice. Her answers on the phone became clipped and rushed. I asked about it, of course, but she would just offer a quick smile, say she was swamped with work, and that there was nothing to worry about. I desperately wanted to believe her, but a tiny, insistent voice in my head started whispering doubt. The secretive, late-night calls, the hasty deletion of text messages, the subtle but persistent alterations to her daily patterns, it all started piling up. One small weight after another. As time went on, the clues became harder to ignore. Once, I saw her phone vibrating relentlessly on the counter, but she snatched it up and hid the screen too quickly. Another time, she shot me a strange, knowing smirk when I asked what was so funny in a message, immediately steering the conversation in another direction. Things that used to be harmless quirks were now glaring red flags I couldn't dismiss. These changes couldn't be rationalized by normal, everyday stress. I tried to find explanations, telling myself I was being overly sensitive, but the evidence was right there, staring me down. A part of me already knew the verdict. Something major was going on, and the simple text, "We need to talk," was the final, undeniable confirmation. Now, all those fragments of suspicion, every behavioral change, every uncomfortable silence from the past few months, pointed toward one crushing possibility. My wife was likely having an affair. I could feel the certainty that my life was about to split in two, defined by the moments before and after this conversation. There was no retreating, no more denial. I knew I had to steel myself, prepared to face the truth I had deliberately avoided for too long. And the only questions cycling through my numb, frantic mind were, and how long has this been going on? The confrontation started the second she walked through the front door. I stood perfectly still, fixing my gaze on her eyes. The air in the room was suffocating, heavy and silent, broken only by the sharp, relentless tick-tock of the grandfather clock. Finally, she broke the tension, her voice shaky. "We need to talk." The exact, chilling phrase from the morning text. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. What is going on between us? I asked, my voice dangerously leveled. She froze. Her eyes darted away, her teeth biting down on her lip. In that instant, every doubt I had harbored over the past months, the late nights, the secretive calls, the rushed answers on the phone exploded into sharp, undeniable clarity. You wouldn't understand, she stammered, clearly trying to shield something. But her entire posture, the way she refused to meet my gaze, felt like a silent, devastating admission. I took a deep breath, trying to anchor myself in the swirling chaos, and pressed the question I dreaded the most. Are you cheating on me? She turned her head away completely. Silence, not no words were needed. The answer was deafening. Every clue, every change in her routine, every unexplained gap in our previous conversations, they all snapped into a single, terrifying picture that I wanted to reject but couldn't deny. I instinctively reached for my phone, tempted to check her messages, but stopped myself. Not because I was afraid of what I'd find, but because I knew whatever I saw would only confirm the rut that had set in long ago. The questions hammered inside my skull. How long? Why? How am I supposed to live with this? But she remained frozen, head bowed, refusing to give me anything more. The tension was a tangible force, squeezing the oxygen out of the room. I felt the world around me solidify, the moments suspended in time. All the accumulated doubt of months instantly crystallized into the horrifying reality. My wife was likely betraying me. Every memory, every shared habit, every small, normal act suddenly became an incriminating, unforgettable clue. I knew this conversation was the point of no return. The truth would rewrite everything. Our love, our trust, and our entire future together. There was no stepping back, no chance for denial. Everything was about to become agonizingly clear, and I had no choice but to face it head on. In that frozen moment, I realized this wasn't just a talk. This was the moment my life fractured. I leveled my gaze directly at her, my voice low and serious, cutting through the thick silence. The late nights lately, those phone calls, the ones you take after I'm asleep, I need an explanation for them. She fidgeted, avoiding my eyes. Please, don't jump to conclusions. I pushed back, the tension evident in every word. Jump to what conclusions? It's all laid out, isn't it? Are you seeing someone else? She looked down, her shoulders shaking faintly. I didn't want to hurt you. I tightened my jaw. My voice was deadly quiet now, each word slow and deliberate. I don't need a rationalization. I just need the truth. Say it. Admit it. You've been seeing someone, haven't you? She remained silent, gathering what little courage she had left. Then, it burst out, a choked, ragged whisper. I have been. It started a few months ago, when I felt us drifting apart. I don't know what to do anymore. My heart pounded against my ribs, a cold, hard rhythm. My voice, when it came, felt foreign, detached. Months and you didn't think about me. How long were you planning to hide this? She finally lifted her head, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, her voice small but devastatingly clear. I don't want to lose you. I don't want you to hate me, but I just can't pretend anymore. The room filled with an overwhelming, crushing silence, heavier than any argument could ever be. I just stared at her. Every answer, every evasive look, every defeated slump of her shoulders confirmed the suspicion that had been eroding me for months. I took a deep, shuddering breath, trying to regain control. My voice was still firm, demanding direction. So, what now? What do you want to do about us? She was utterly broken, whispering through her sobs. I don't know. I'm terrified of losing you, but I can't keep living a lie. I just wanted you to understand. In that instant, there was nothing left to hide. Every doubt, every breadcrumb of evidence, every late arrival, every secretive call, it was all laid bare. The conflict had reached its horrifying peak, forcing me to confront the absolute, devastating truth. My wife had cheated. The room remained silent, but the air was now unbearably thick. I stood several steps away from her, staring into her bloodshot eyes, which held a devastating mix of tears, fear, and repentance. Inside me, the pain I had suppressed for months finally ignited, raging like a wildfire. My voice broke, yet carried an unwavering resolve. Do you understand? I loved you with everything I had. I trusted you, and you betrayed me. How am I supposed to ever look past that? She stumbled back, her hands shaking, her voice ragged with sobs. Please hear me out. I know I made a mistake. I regret it. I still love you. I inhaled sharply, fighting a volcanic surge of rage. I don't want to hear your regret. What you did changed everything. Fundamentally, I can't go on. She lunged toward me, grabbing my arm, her grip desperate and weak. I'm begging you. Please, just one chance. I'll do anything. Just don't leave me. I pulled back, her hand sliding off me in a clear, stark symbol that everything was truly over. My voice was icy, but saturated with grief. There are no more chances. You chose your path, and I'm choosing mine. We end this right here. In that moment, every contained emotion exploded. I felt the fury, the crushing disappointment, and the hollow emptiness all rush through my heart simultaneously. She collapsed, weeping uncontrollably, while I stood there, my own heart constricting painfully. But my gaze remained fixed, resolute. I would not turn back. No more words were necessary. My final action, the decisive step I took toward the door, was the definitive, non-negotiable declaration of the end. No more justification, no more excuses, just the stark, brutal truth. The love was desecrated, the trust was shattered, and the relationship was beyond salvation. In that defining instant, I recognized that sometimes, the only way to protect yourself is to make the painful, final choice to walk away. It was agonizing, but it was also a liberation. She kept sobbing, I kept walking, and the story reached its emotional zenith: the rage, the sorrow, the disappointment, and the final, crushing resolve, all peaking in one unforgettable moment. I stood there for another moment, watching her silent, shuddering sobs. The room felt utterly empty, devoid of the laughter, the intimacy, the shared life. Only the crushing weight of pain and silence remained. I knew this final, frozen instant would be etched into my memory forever, the painful monument to a relationship that had once been beautiful, now irrevocably destroyed by betrayal. I took a final, deep breath, struggling to remain composed. Inside, a bizarre mixture of profound sorrow and strange relief washed over me. Relief, because I had finally chosen to protect myself. No more deceit, no more prolonged suffering dragged out by false hopes or hollow apologies. The pain was still immense, but at least I knew I had made the right, necessary choice. She was still sitting there, head bowed, tears falling, her voice a weak, pathetic sound. You're really going? I didn't think it would come to this. I looked at her, my eyes holding both grief and fierce determination. There is no other way. I cannot keep living under the shadow of your infidelity. I have to leave so we can both finally face ourselves and our separate futures. In that moment, she fell completely silent, utterly defeated. There were no more words left to speak. No justification could change the fact. The love was broken, the trust annihilated, and everything beautiful we had built was now merely a painful memory. I turned and walked away, each step heavy yet resolute. It felt simultaneously agonizing and liberating. I knew leaving wasn't selfish. It was an act of necessary self-preservation to find my peace again, and to force her to finally confront the consequence of her own actions. She remained on the floor, watching my shadow disappear, seemingly realizing that her tears and regrets were now meaningless against the vast, empty space she had created. She had lost the one person who loved her unconditionally, and from this day forward, she would have to learn to live with the consequences of her choices. I took one last, steadying breath before stepping through the front door, knowing the long road to healing lay ahead. The pain would linger, but I had learned a crucial lesson. Love isn't just emotion. It is trust, respect, and boundaries. When those are fundamentally broken, there is no going back. This final walkout was both an ending and the difficult, uncertain beginning of a new life, one where I would learn to stand on my own, value myself, and face reality without the blindness of deceit. The following day, the house was unnervingly quiet. The familiar sounds of shared life, the laughter, the casual morning conversations were absent, leaving behind only a heavy atmosphere and the persistent echo of the confrontation. I sat alone in the living room, my hands resting heavily on the table, watching the sunlight cut through the window blinds. The light couldn't pierce the profound emptiness inside me. I began to review everything: the beautiful memories, the promises we once exchanged, and the subtle signs I had either missed or willfully ignored. Every moment was now rearranged like pieces of a mosaic, and each piece reminded me that love is more than just feeling. It is trust, honesty, and mutual responsibility. Once those pillars are destroyed, no amount of regret or tears can bring them back. She, undoubtedly, was facing her own separate pain. Stripped of all excuses and justifications, she had to look straight at the consequences. She had lost the person who loved her unconditionally, and now she must live with the haunting regret, the solitude, and the chilling realization that poor choices can dismantle a life. Her pain would be her lesson, though painfully late, on the true value of trust and integrity in love. For me, the decision to walk away was a critical turning point. It wasn't about revenge or punishment. It was about necessary self-preservation. I needed to reclaim my peace, my self-respect, and the capacity to love without being crippled by the fear of betrayal. I learned that sometimes, clear-cut decisiveness, however heartbreaking, is the strongest path to growth. It taught me that not every beautiful thing can survive without trust and mutual respect. In the days that followed, I dedicated myself to reflection. Every memory, whether sweet or bitter, held a distinct meaning. I realized that pain is a painful, vital part of growth and opportunity to learn self-love, establish boundaries, and move forward unburdened by the past. She, too, would have to learn her lesson. The loneliness, the regret, and the sense of profound loss would follow her as a stark reminder that every action has a consequence, and only truth can lead to genuine maturity. No one